Live from wine country, it's time to crown a champion. Welcome along to Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing. We kick things off with RX2, fixed setup competition, drivers new to the world of Rallycross, but eager to show they can make the step up to RX1. Welcome along to RaceSpotTV. So delighted you can join us for one final time. Our junior Kanky party joined alongside by Justin Prince, and Justin will spray some sparkling wine in about an hour's time for one champion, and then a little bit later on for a second champion. But I think today there's some high stakes here in RX2.
Especially when it comes to the fact, of course, the finale, but a chance to battle for a championship. It's been back and forth, essentially, amongst two drivers much of the season when it comes to RX2. It's the question, which has the better consistency when it comes to today's format to close things out and leave Napa Valley as a champion?
It's been an interesting season as well. We eschewed some of the traditional tracks. We didn't go to Daytona. Instead, Knock Hill. That was an interesting one, and we started things off at Charlotte, but we'll close out the season here at Sonoma. Last time out at Brands Hatch, we had the heaviest braking zone of any IRX track. This a little bit more fast and flowing, but the run down through the bowling alley on the start always proves to be important. Let's talk, though, about how points are accumulated, because it's close in the RX2 Championship, and so qualifying going to be important to accumulate points. Set yourself up nicely for the heats, where even more points are on the line. Top three advance to the main event, where the majority of the points paid out, and JP consistency pays out in the form of championship runs.
And it all starts with the qualifying, right? Being able to set times individually. Those two drivers we've talked about throughout the season in this grouping, Thomas Poulsen, Chris Pissick, they've been the top two in the final practice sessions entering today. Those two going to be fighting hard for those points. And in turn, that could set which heat in turn they race in to try and battle for those 8 points to really set the table for that feature race, to try and get the 15 points for the overall win today. And that may be where the big separation starts to build up, depending on what happens, of course, in the heats.
You mentioned it's Thomas Poulsen, it's Chris Pissick at the top of the championship. Poulsen with 3 wins on 5 races so far, albeit with one maybe that I don't think he was too thrilled by the manner of victory. And Chris Pissick trying to just make sure he can take the fight starting in the qualifying session that is underway right now. Behind some interesting fights, Rennie Sotens and Cody Crosgrove, 1 point between them in the hunt for what is 4th and 5th position and trying to sign off the championship on a high. Drivers are allowed to compete in both RX2 and RX1 if they want to. However, if they do elect to make the step up, they are not allowed to make the return to RX2. Instead, they must make the step forward forever. In Napa Valley, it's an interesting track that we sort of conjure up through the rolling hills of Sonoma. This as well, mostly dirt, not tarmac, and the Joker lap cannot be used on the initial start. You've got to file around to the finish line before you can take that shortcut. It's an interesting track, JP, and I think one that's going to prove very interesting with drivers having to be really, really precise.
I alluded to this last time out because you're going uphill for the carousel. That's where turn 3 is, past the finish line, before you work to turn 4. That run through turn 5 is a challenging one too, because it goes from dirt on the start of the straight for the corner, then back to pavement. Seen a lot of drivers crash around there where there's a jump setup before turn 1 on the course map. And then there's that opportunity for the Joker before going all the way down to the finish line here today. There's another jump setup where that dirt patch is as well. That will be a challenging one for some.
Remember that when we get to the heat races, as JP mentioned, we split the cars up by their qualifying times. And, well, championship hopefuls at the very front, Chris Pissuk, 1/10 quicker than Thomas Poulsen, and that's just 1 point, a swing between them. More importantly, what it does, it divides them up. We've got 2 heats tonight. Both of them will be at the relative pole position of their respective heat. They will have the best opportunity to then convert to the maximum number of heat points. But I think maybe disappointingly for us, JP, they won't be fighting side by side and really putting on a show in fighting for the championship right from the start of the heat races.
If anything, in the case of Chris Pissuk, that's a good thing, because you see how that order is set right now? That reduced the gap tentatively to 9 points before the heat races. It does apply a lot more pressure, though, when it comes to both of them. To be able to keep lockstep, it's quite simple. Match spots, or better yet, try and get the win straight up. If either of them slip up in the heat races, that can really change the conversation for the feature race.
Last week we talked about grip strips at Brands Hatch and being precise. We saw that a lot in RX1. I think it's a similar sort of case here, of course, through those opening dirt corners here at Sonoma. Got to be careful of slowdowns, though, as well. Can be very, very easy to run just a little bit too far wide and find yourself with a very painful slowdown. Championship favorites battling it out at the front in qualifying, but they've split themselves off into 2 different heats. Let's take you down trackside. 2 of the heats, of course, 3 drivers to advance from each of them, and we're ready to go in fast and furious rallycross racing. Chris Pissuk in that Run DJC machine will lead us to the green alongside of Andrew Howell, and then Cody Crosgrove, Rennie Sotens, Tor Owen Anderson, who joins us for the very first time, the son of Owen Anderson himself, and then Ian Fisher on the 6th starting spot, Cole Fisher and Corey Boudinot at the very back of the field. As mentioned slightly earlier, JP, the start, known as the bowling alley. It's a treacherous sight as well. The cars lined up and ready to go.
And even when it comes to the race conditions, it's a challenging section today, because a lot of drivers I've seen crash to the wall to the left side of the racetrack in race conditions. For today's heats in general, it's going to be important to get it lined up just right and not slide up, because that run goes all the way to where the short chute is for a tough elevation change.
And while we wait for the final drivers to come on through, I'll break out my yellow pen. This is where the drivers will be sliding back onto the dirt. Just be careful you don't slide out there. I'll break the yellow pen back out, though, and we'll listen to the rumble of the engines. Ready to go for RX2 Championship Showdown time. And what does Chris Pissuk have? He's already been involved in contact. Oh, my heavens. It doesn't get more dramatic than that. He'll do the full 360, drop to the tail end of the field, and as we rumble down towards the start-finish line, it's going to be Cody Crosgrove that leads from Tor Owen Anderson, and then Andrew Howell third. How much damage, though, does Chris Pissuk have on his machine?
A lot towards the left front, it looks like, towards the bumper. How is that going to handle the drive? That's my major question for the Run DHC machine. He's going to need to hope for a little bit of luck now to be able to gain back a lot of those lost points here throughout the laps, already to dead last to start things off.
And now this is that crucial section. Look how wide some will slide. A couple, though, staying on the tarmac itself. That's what they will want. Now, who peels off to the right? Got to be careful not to be rear-ended by drivers running on the regular lap. It looked like Cody Crosgrove, the only driver that thought, let me take the 1 to 2 seconds shortcut and run at the front of the field. A little bit further back, another driver will be lit up in gold on the left side of your screen. As they slide back up through the dirt, it's Ian Fisher, the other driver, taking to the Joker.
Good start for those up towards the front, and I talked about that. Have to get a good launch, have to keep it clean. A lot of conversation amongst the drivers today, Arjuna, was quite simple. Give space to the championship runners. They've given the space so far. It's just so far. Chris has not had the grip in the back of the field. Soden, by the way, was the one who led the Chargers, saying, we'll keep it clean. We're battling for a championship today.
Off and away across the jump. Be careful as well when you run to the line on that Joker merge. You can see behind Chris Pissuk as elected to take to the Joker, but alongside of Cole Fisher, they'll be almost wheel to wheel. And look at how much damage there is. That is a very beaten up machine. The benefit, of course, of being here in the world of sim racing is that car going to be spick and span brand new whether it's in an LCQ or a main event. The hope will be to try and work through the field because, of course, we're talking points being dropped. Let's go back to the start, though, and JP, just take a look at, I guess the only way to describe it was some pinball. The no-control car getting a great launch off the line.
Well, you did say it's a bowling alley, and someone definitely bowled in. And the funny thing is, you know who made the contact? Rene Sodens, the driver who said, keep it clean for the championship. He just so happens to accidentally turn one of the championship front runners.
It wasn't great, was it? Chris Pisuk up the inside of poor Ian Fisher in that Racecraft car, who just gets absolutely sent. May still have a slowdown despite the wide line being run, but will come around to take what will be the white flag this time by. One more lap to go in the first of 2 heats. Andrew Howell, the only driver yet to have jokered. He is 3.5 seconds off of the lead. It's not expected that he's going to make this trip off to the right and be able to challenge up front, but he'll save that trip down to the final lap and to the run to the checkered flag.
Yeah, these final laps here are going to be interesting. Cody has handled this very solidly, and I think partly that is because you're basically running on the Sonoma lawn circuit that has been utilized by multiple different series, basically just in backwards. And it's even more so, arguably, even with the dirt, a bit more easier, more wide flowing, at least for the first sector. It's where the NASCAR short shoot portion is where we've seen all the challenges so far.
Now, Rene Sodens jokered and came out in front of Andrew Howell, but I don't think that's going to cause any sort of issue in terms of Howell's run to the Joker. The question more is going to be on the run to the line. Does Howell have enough to pip Rene Sodens? It's neck and neck for second, actually, and it is going to be enough for Andrew Howell to move on forward. Cody Cosgrove, the winner in heat number 1. Less than a tenth of a second, though, JP, between second and third at the end.
Yeah, and you know who didn't advance in the transfer spots there? Chris Pisuk. This heat race just went disastrous for his championship. Now he's going to have to hope for bad luck for Thomas Poulsen, because right now he's in the verge of at least losing several points and losing that qualifying point difference.
Here's the look at the results and confirmation. Let's get ready to go, though, for heat number 2. It's going to be really interesting how Thomas Poulsen runs alongside Eric Dubois into the opening corner. Vergaard Olsen, Leah, Trevor Thiel, Alex Otero, Greg Johnson, Casper Thielgaard, and then Ovin Anderson, the 8 machines that will get ready to rumble for the second of the heat. All drivers have already made their way to the grid, so let's take a look at them as they rev their engines and get ready to go. No controls, Poulsen on the inside, with the eyes of the championship watching on. 3 wide at the front, and on the outside, Vergaard Olsen Leah may have got the best initial launch. Thomas Poulsen, though, is going to run everyone a little bit wide. He'll hold the inside as we run our way through the final corner, but chaos for him as well. He's been turned around, makes some contact, and drops to the tail end of the pack.
Yeah, weird one, I think, there. If you look back, we'll talk about that once the replay is shown, but Thomas Poulsen, well, may have just got a hurricane of a hit to the left rear.
And instantly, we think now about where did Chris Pisuk finish in terms of points. How much will he potentially close? Does Thomas Poulsen have more damage than the Run DJC machine had? That's a big old slide from Eric Dubois as we crest our way at the very top of the track. Now plunge down the hill. Who jokers first time by? I would suspect that Dubois wants to save it. Vergaard Olsen Leah thinks, let me make the jink. First official lap will come to a close, and a new race leader up front.
Despite the spin around in a very tough spot, it's been a pretty clean start, I had to argue. Trevor Thiel, amongst those we look to be pretty solid in the final practice. Just did have a technical issue. Lucky to get back in the car in time for this race, by the way. He had the tech issue during the first heat. So already, with that Joker, seems to be in a solid position to battle for one of the transfer spots by the time Eric Dubois settles in. But somebody has to tell Dubois that the racetrack is the pavement, not the grass in the pavement.
He's off to the Joker, though, is Eric Dubois. Trevor Thiel does not follow, and I want to give Mr. Pickle Thiel a big old shout out because he's broken the costume back out. Nitro Circus Sim Racing team manager, and I love that he's willing to still be professional but have fun as well. You can do both, and look at that, the yoink on the handbrake, the control of the car, and sliding up through turns 1 and then towards turn 2 in 5th and 6th gear as ever. Very, very high gearing just to make sure there's as little wheel spin as possible. He's still within 2.5 odd seconds of your leader. So I would still think at this point, Trevor Teal is thinking his Joker can see him potentially work his way towards the race lead. This is what happened to Thomas Poulsen on the start.
Looks fine and all dandy, right? Like I said, a hurricane of a hit.
It's a bit of netcode, unfortunately, and that's big drama then for the other of our championship contenders. Up through turn one, look at the cars just sliding. Greg Johnson, Alex Otero, both now having jokered alongside of Trevor Teal, fighting for the final of the transfer spot. Thomas Poulsen has just been able to work past Ovin Anderson. He is still yet to joker. Remember, if it is anywhere from a 1 to 2 second shortcut, JP, save that for the final lap. He's still got a chance of making it directly to the main event.
It's going to be borderline, though. He might have Capillo around where Greg Johnson is, at least based on the current tally. Looks like he's going to try and stretch it for the final lap, try and make up the time lost on the track itself for the white flag lap.
You could see the rear end sliding around a little bit, and we ride on board. See the yoink of the handbrake there, the VR head movement around as well inside of the rig. He's strapped into all fours. It's going to be quite comfortable up front. I'll just point that out for Eric Dubois, for Vergaard Olsen Leah to transfer on forward directly through all of that chaos. The real question, though, in terms of championship, Thomas Poulsen, can he do what Chris Pissock could not and make his way to the main event? He'll hook the right here early onto the brakes, and as Dubois and Olsen Leah up front make their way on forward, drag race to the line, and it might not be in vain. I give you some credit, Thomas Poulsen. The margin of victory, or at least of transferring, going to be about 1/10 of a second. JP, he gave it his best.
It was close like thought, and just that close to moving on directly. He still gained points, by the way, for the championship fight, but both of them, both your championship front runners to the LCQs.
That's the confirmed Heat 2 result. And again, that margin's so fine. But we've got some fun fights ahead of us. And Chris Pissock and Thomas Poulsen find themselves split in the LCQs. No points on the line, just main event spots. Rene Sotens, Corey Boudinot, Chris Pissock, Ian Fisher, and Cole Fisher will round out the 5 cars. Remember, 3 to advance, so all the championship contender really has to do here, stay out of trouble. That might be easier said than done.
Yeah, this race is going to be an interesting one now for the championship frontrunners. Think it's going to be a bit more calm for Thomas, but I think right now it's quite simple. Just keep it clean. Just keep it clean to make it.
And we say that so often on RaceSpotTV. They are 3 wide on that front row, revving those engines and bouncing off the launch control. Can the no-control machine of Rene Sotens get a good launch on the inside? Watch Chris Pissock on the outside. What a launch it was for him. And he'll sweep his speed around, but a little bit too deep. Rene Sotens back in front and will control the tempo of the race as we fly our way over the jump and across the line to start lap number 1 with Ian Fisher in the gravel behind.
It looks like Ian Fisher is just going to park it from there, so again, just don't crash and you advance. It's, again, quite simple. Can it be Cole Fisher, Corey Bowden? It's going to be the big question here. Chris Pissock looking to try go toe-to-toe with the person who made contact before, and it looks like he's showing his displeasure a touch bit with a little tap.
Last thing you want to do, though, is get a points penalty. Thomas Poulsen has had 5 points taken away from him over the course of the season. Hoping Chris can calm himself. Almost got tangled, though, with Corey Boudinot. That is the danger of making your way down onto the Joker. You'll merge clear up front. But I think he realizes and maybe expects that he has a bit more pace, and he might just have lost the rear end and has now spun himself around. The one thing he had to do was finish, and he dropped to the back of the pack.
Chris is trying to make it very difficult on himself. I'll give him that. Oh, and someone else is off.
I think that's Cole Fisher that's found himself way wide. It's so easy to do here on the dirt. That's the look of a driver that is locked in right now, not stressed by any means. JP, can you imagine the relief that's going to set in, though, if he can make his way safely to the end of this one?
I don't know if it's going to be a relief until the end of the feature at this point, because honestly, Chris has had multiple mistakes build up, not just from the initial contact in his heat race, but the contact that gave him damage to the back end in the heat race on the next lap. and the fact he spun it from the race lead, it's almost a question of how is he going to make it in the 10 laps here with the inconsistency of making it around Sonoma.
You're Rene Sotens, you have a chance to joker and get out of this little gaggle. Corey Boudinot said that his main task was to try and advance to the feature today. Seems like he's got his chance to do that. Sotens does the wise thing. Look at how on the entry into the joker, he peeled off to the right, did not brake on the regular racing line. He reinserts himself to the front of the field in the no control machine, but with 2 laps still left to go, all the 3 drivers in control of their transfer spots have to do, say it again, stay out of trouble, and hopefully they heed our words this time round.
I was going to say every single time we said that, I think somebody spun the car. But if you end up managing to lose 4 seconds here, it's self-inflicted by this point. It looks like everybody else is just settled in and ready to just try and get the transfers. Cole Fisher will need some sort of miracle to gain the 2 seconds to Chris.
Look over the jump. Watch the attitude of the car. That was very nose heavy for a second. Chris has lost some time. Now, what's just happened is he's crossed on over to the white flag. He's within 3 seconds of Cole Fisher. He's just got to get to the main event here. He's a bit wide and high and dry, but I think that looks quite calm and under control, all things considered. We knew we were going to get championship drama and championship intrigue. I don't think anyone could have quite predicted it would have gone like this. It's going to be Rene Sotens in the no control machine, the number 57 out of the final corner, the winner of the first of the 2 LCQs, to advance along with Corey Boudinot and with Chris Pissock. But my word, 1 more LCQ to go, and Thomas Poulsen's now got to make his way, JP, to the main event.
I mean, based on what we've seen today, it's not fully a guarantee, well, it never is, that there's going to be an advancement. But the championship frontrunners are not making it easy for either of them at the rate we're going today.
No, we say goodbye, unfortunately, to Cole Fisher and Ian Fisher for the season, but Thomas Poulsen, Greg Johnson, Alex Otero, Owen Anderson, and Casper Theogard. Now, Casper switched, by the way, from the Beetle over to the Subaru, so I'm going to shame him a little bit for that. Get ready to go for the second of the LCQs. They are lined up and ready to shoot themselves down through the bowling alley. It's Thomas Poulsen on the inside in that no-control machine. How can he stay out of trouble here? Gets a whole shot and the launch of his lifetime down into the opening corner. Spin behind. Casper Theogard gets tangled up with Greg Johnson. And so it's going to be Poulsen from Owen Anderson from Alex Otero. 1, 2, and 3 running across the line.
Much better start for Thomas Poulsen compared to his heat race. Major bright side right there. Now it's the matter of just keeping it on the racetrack. Looks like he's trying to use a lot more of the outside part of the circuit, trying to build up where some of the slicks built up, compared to those trying to use the inside of the crutchy for second.
Oh, Owen Anderson tangles up with Alex Otero, and now there goes Casper Theogard to slip his way on forward. Flip on the timing screen on the left indicates that Greg Johnson's actually reset, and you can see him. He was sitting there for a moment off by the start. Otero and Theogard all pressuring each other as Thomas Poulsen's off to the joker. I think Otero was setting up to try and take to the joker. He gets tangled up with Theogard. Both drivers take the shortcut. How much more chaos can you ask for?
How about Thomas Poulsen? He just spun it around, and now he's stuck on the side of the carousel nearly.
I mean, does anyone want to win this race, let alone the championship? It's probably a good thing that we can't see Thomas Poulsen's face right now, because I can only imagine how embarrassed, maybe reticent he's feeling about that small little mistake.
At this point, it goes exactly to the point I made, I think, last time. This is a track with attrition heavy here. You're kind of seeing why. It's kind of wild to me, because the easiest sections are where the most mistakes are starting to pop up compared to the second half of the course, where it's more tighter, more potential contact points, especially with the joker, and they're botching the harder part, or rather the easy part.
I suspect, just watching some of these drivers, a couple of spins that we've seen through turn 1 is because they are yoinking on the handbrake, locking the rear tires, and just transferring way too much speed and momentum too quickly. And so, you know, rear end moves faster than the front end, leads you to a bit of a spin. I wonder, though, if the championship hopefuls can avoid any sort of chaos come the main event. There goes Otero. makes his way past Casper Thielgaard, and we will have 2 more laps to go, this time by Greg Johnson, as mentioned, not going to finish. Ovin Anderson, even though he hasn't jokered, is losing a little bit of time, although I wonder if Casper Thielgaard ends up bringing that 52 machine back into contention. We haven't talked about our Racecraft race analysis so far today. It's been so fast and frenetic, but JP, the one thing we shouldn't forget is that these are 5-lap LCQs, 5-lap heats. The main event, though, with the 12 drivers, going to be 10 laps in length.
And if some drivers are struggling at 5, 10 is going to be extra fun for some of those drivers at this rate. I think the transfer spots for now are safe. Then again, all it takes is another spin, and Anderson's Fiesta has a miracle shot here. It looks like everyone's finally settled in.
Settled in, but settled in at the very end of the race. Oh, Thomas Poulsen. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't think it's intentional. It does not look comfortable. And he's got to slow down. Oh, no. He still should advance, but how much more difficult can we make it? Poulsen, Otero, less than a second between them, out of the final corner and transferring from LCQ2. Thielgaard will do enough to move on forward as well. And it took some time, but JP, we now know the 12 that will duke it out in the main event.
I'm just going to say this. The feature race is going to be one of the more frantic ones probably of the season at the rate we're going.
And that is probably not saying much in some regards. There's a look at the jump, of course, and the run off of it down towards the finish line. Remember, we start slightly differently. A quick look, though, at the result. Poulsen, Otero, Thielgaard move forward. Poulsen, of course, doing enough to keep his championship alive in terms of the fight with Chris Pissock, and now we get ready to go for the main event. Don't go anywhere. The championship about to be decided here on RaceSpotTV. Well, it's taken us here to wine country to settle the championship in Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing. Its RX2 category with fixed setups gets ready to rumble. The championship hopefuls did not make it easy for themselves, but they both made it here to fight. Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside by Justin Prince. The drivers just finishing up their brief warm-up session and now getting ready to go. We can take you straight, though, to the starting grid and see how the 12 drivers will get locked and loaded for the 10 laps of racing action. Of course, drivers at the front trying to sign off on a high and in some cases finish as high up in the championship as possible. That's what Cody Crosgrove, Eric Dubois and Tor Ovin Anderson will be thinking about on the front row. Vergaard Olsen, Lee and Andrew Howell behind on row 2. And then the final driver making it forward from the heats, Trevor Thiel. Rennie Sotens, Thomas Poulsen, Corey Boudinot, Alex Otero, Chris Pissock and Casper Thielgaard. 12 drivers lined and loaded, ready to go. JP, your expectations based on the craziness that we've seen so far?
I mean, the expectation, possibly a very frantic finale, especially both championship front runners towards the back. Chris in the last row, essentially for this start. It's going to be pretty wild what we're about to see here.
he has the chance on that inside to try and get the whole shot, but we are ready to go for 10 laps of racing action. It's going to be wild. Who will come out on top? At the front, it's a field of drivers wanting to win the race. Behind, the championship hopefuls. Thomas Poulsen, aggressive and around in the no control machine. He causes a blocker, and Chris Pissock gets mixed up in it. He's got damage, hopefully not steering. Front of the field though, it's Toro Vin Anderson across the jump, across the line, and leading on the climb through turn number 1.
Severe front damage for Chris Pissock. Doesn't look like he's bent the steering, can tell you that. But right now, everybody else off to another frantic race. What did I say? It's been frantic throughout this entire day. Thomas Poulsen, at the very least, able to get to midfield amongst all the chaos.
He really tried to go around the outside. It was a good idea. The track funnels in though. Curious to see on the replay how it will look. Who Joker's first time by? Remember, got to try and stay out of trouble. There's a look at the split view. Joker on that right-hand side, and it's Trevor Teal, Pickle Teal, that decides to take the shortcut. He'll emerge in second spot, neck and neck at the front of the field. But interesting calls through the rest because no one else really being lit up in gold on the left-hand side.
Oh, that's an interesting call, though, with Teal, because, you know, we're fed up right in the heart of the field. That might actually be a net loss as he's storing with Cosgrove.
Bit of contact. Cosgrove had the potential inside line down into turn number 1. Did not play out, I think, as he expected. Oh, Trevor Teal gets a bit of bumping from behind, and Cosgrove back up to third. Some of these drivers surely have to think it might be wise to peel off to the right. And Joker, oh, Cody Cosgrove, I think, wanted to do so and then bailed out of it. Recognized he was going to get hit by Trevor Teal behind. It's all action. Toro Vin Anderson Jokers leads by 3 full seconds.
I think he had to abort because he did get hit by Trevor Teal, in fact. Cosgrove, I think, hit the hard brake, tried to turn right, but there was no time for the turn right with Teal right on the bumper. That's the very tough part about that, is getting it to where you don't make contact. Speaking of contact, nearly grip rules, and then everybody plows through.
Oh, Chris just got squeezed. I don't think there was much that he could do, but from first viewing, it's hard to really tell. Just watch one more time. Poulsen's on the outside. He might have got a bit of a shove from behind, and then Vergaard Olsen Leah gets turned on the nose of Trevor Teal, and that sets off the concertina. Back across the line, laps ticking away. Ovin Anderson continues to lead. Toro Vin Anderson, that is son of Ovin Anderson. He's making his debut. What a debut it would be for him as well. Behind, Andrew Howell almost gets sent by Thomas Poulsen. Remember, Poulsen in front of Chris Pissock. All he's got to do, stay out of trouble. Championship would be his.
And right now, that seems to be an extreme challenge right now. We're not even at halfway, and at least most of your field has at least some part of the corner completely destroyed of their cars. Looks like it's going to be Joker time for Poulsen. Might be able to rejoin in clean space. Yes, that's going to help him.
What a interesting camera shot from these aerial perspectives. And this is such a facility where the elevation plays a part. Look at this climb, and look at how inside line being hugged for Thomas Poulsen. Closes on the back of Dubois. Yet to take to the shortcut. Might be thinking it is probably within that window halfway through. He's sandwiched by drivers either side of him. One putting pressure behind, one maybe slightly holding him up. Might want to release himself and see if he can fight his way on forward. On board with the championship-elect driver at this point. Not seeing Dubois off and away in that 000. He goes out wide though. Here comes the no control machine.
Poulsen's just got the raw pace as a driver right now. Just has to keep it off other competitors. That's the simple point. Just keep it clean and you survive for some good points, especially Chris basically at the very back of the field here. Not in position to gain by far in terms of the round. Thomas Poulsen, I think, is just trying to slice and dice these one by one, let the passes go as they may.
That was a bit of physicality between Dubois and Poulsen. I think Dubois may be regretting the choice not to come down and Joker because he lost a whole bunch of time, and now will peel off to the right and make his way on through. Where is he going to feed off into? Remember, there's a 2-second buffer up front now that Toro Vin Anderson just continues to enjoy. Dubois back in front of Andrew Howell and Thomas Poulsen, so we'll resume the hostilities once again, and Dubois had to open up the corner to avoid being slid into by Andrew Howell. This is fun stuff, frantic stuff, and JP kind of what we were waiting for here at Sonoma.
Especially now that the drivers have really settled in. Well, never mind, there's a touch bit of contact with Howell trying to protect the inside there. But was about to say, this is the expectation. Someone else again hits the wall. Here we go.
And there's the chance for the no control machine to lunge up the inside. Eric Dubois gets cattywampused on the inside curb. And I don't know how he didn't jump off the track, but he holds on. But on the outside now, more speed than those behind, side by side, into turn number 1.
Olsen doing exactly what he needs to do to move up. A little bit of painting and trading that rubbing door. Oh, and now contact from Howell.
And can Thomas Poulsen hold on? He might have a slowdown. All he's got to do is finish this race. Chris Pissock does not look like he will finish any higher than 9th. It was a race of what could have been for the Run DJC machine. Thomas Poulsen, on the other hand, involved in a couple of incidents, same as his championship competitor. JP just somehow a lot less impactful overall as he now battles into turn 1 once more.
Yeah, the second Chris didn't get the championship position he needed from the heat races. I think that was part of game over. Chris is one of the drivers we've seen who needs track position to be able to emphasize the speed we've seen from him. Thomas has speed to be able to come through the field. Chris needs the positioning to then be able to have the confidence to push to where he needs to be. That's been the major difference, and there's a lot of talk for that. Howell has a slowdown. Teal has yet to serve his slowdown too.
Oh, this is painful, and they're long slowdowns. Front of the field though, and taking the white flag, all as the chaos reigns on behind. Tor Ovin Anderson leads, and what a debut it has been for him. Stayed out of all of this drama and just has one more lap to hold on to what would be his first race victory. Thomas Poulsen though behind, the championship leader coming into this round. I mean, what a tumultuous round it has been as well. Everything has been thrown his way, and he will come out on top. A championship going his direction, at least pending any investigation from race control. Take a bow, Tor Ovin Anderson, on debut, winner in Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing and its RX2 category. But across the line, and probably full of emotion, Thomas Poulsen, the RX2 champion for 2024.
Small bit of emotion showcased, and it's burnout time for the tunnel. Nicely done. He had to use all the work possible needed with how crazy this race went today. But in the end, he was the best in terms of the feature pace.
And this is your Next Level Racing Championship moment as Thomas Poulsen burns it down. 3 wins in 6 races. It makes it sound easy, but JP, it was anything but. What a rip-roaring championship it has been for us to cover. And now, I wonder, does Thomas Poulsen immediately get out of the rig and get ready to go for RX1? We'll have to wait and see. We'll get our chance, though, to catch up with him in a few moments' time, and hopefully with Tor Ovin Anderson as well. Confirmation of the racing results. West Racing Norway's Anderson 5.3 seconds clear at the line in his Subaru STI, with Cody Crosgrove bowing out with a second. He'll be delighted with that. Thomas Poulsen grabs a podium to cap off his championship campaign with Alex Otero, Eric Dubois, and then Andrew Howell, Rene Sotens, Trevor Teal, and Chris Pissock, unfortunately, down in 9th. Did not get to see the best from him in his championship fight. Casper Thielgaard scored in 10th, and then Corey Boudinot, Vergaard, Olsen, Leah, rounding out our results. Still waiting for the rest of the drivers to come and have a chat with us, but we will see if we can have a quick chat now with our champion. Standing by with Thomas Poulsen. Thomas, what a race it was. I mean, for both you and Chris, I don't think that was the way you envisioned it, but how do you feel right now, the RX2 champion for 2024?
Wow. This is the dream coming true. It's really our. I wasn't even sure where the Pissock was in the final, and I just pushed as hard as I could. I didn't even know what the points would be, and panicking, and all of this. I understand now the bowling alley. I don't know, but goddamn, that was fun.
I'm glad you at least had fun. Talk to me, though, about the nerves going into that final. I'm sure you were quite stressed out having to go through the LCQs. Overall, it's been a season with 3 wins. How do you feel it's gone overall? Are you feeling like you're ready to make the step up to RX1?
I'm definitely ready. This was maybe the least favorite track of all that I have. So to be doing this good on the track, I'm quite happy about, and that I've been practiced with my teammate who is driving RX1. I can follow their kind of times. So I'm ready to do the occasion to go to RX1 and have some competition, some real competition.
Does that mean you're jumping in today, or are we going to have to wait to see your debut?
I would look for a shiny car today.
Oh, let's see it. Congratulations on the championship. We'll let you go and enjoy this one, Thomas, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple of minutes' time.
See you there.
Thomas Poulsen joins us in the commentary booth. Let's go and catch up, though, with Chris Pisak, who I'm sure is probably a little bit disconsolate, frustrated with how this race went. He's ready to catch up, though, with Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. And Chris, first things first, I believe your mic's muted. Second things second, talk to us about the feelings about today. You were second for the championship. And I think he just said 1 second.
Yeah, yes, I'm on.
Yes.
I don't know, it was really hard, really disappointed with my driving today, but yeah, second in a overall standing, it's like, you know, I wouldn't expect it. Entering the championship, I was like, top 6 for me, maybe, you know, will be great, but being like P2, it's really good, so I'm really happy.
How difficult was the race today, especially right from the onset? It seemed absolute calamity.
I had just mistake after mistake after mistake, and I don't know. It was still fun, you know, to gaining places back, but well, I had the confidence, but my second place overall is not in any danger, so yeah, but it was fun, definitely. Not the way I wanted, but yeah, it is what it is, yes.
Now, we talked with the championship winner, mentioned already, he's planning to run. Thomas Poulsen is RX1. Are you planning to run RX1?
Of course, I'm already joining the lobby.
Okay, we'll let you get to the next race then. Good luck in RX1.
Thank you guys, thank you.
And we'll see if we can catch up with one more driver as we get ready to go. Pickle Teal joins us now. Trevor, I've got to say, team managers can have fun. I'm glad that you've recognized that. How crazy was that main event, though? That was something, wasn't it?
I think the whole day was kind of crazy. Like, we had our championship contenders trying to throw it away in, like, the heats and LCQs. I'm glad they didn't, but, like, yeah, it was just a crazy day all around.
I'll ask you the same question that I asked the other 2 drivers. Are you ready to make the step up to RX1?
I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. Like, I really want just 1 win in RX2 before I move up. And, like, we almost had that this year, and then got spun out of control. So, I don't know. We'll see. There's going to be a little bit of a gap between the next season, and we'll throw down laps and see where we're at before the next one.
So that means no Pickle Teal in RX1 in a few minutes' time, right?
No, not tonight. Nope.
Disappointed.
Sorry. I'll sit on Discord and Zoom with the costume on if you'd like.
I mean, I will never say no to that. I'm glad that you managed to break it out. Thanks for joining in, Trevor. Congratulations on a great season. Looking forward to seeing you back on RaceSpot in the future.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for the broadcast. Y'all have kicked butt. Like, can't thank you guys enough. Also got to give a big shout out to Nitro Circus Sim Racing, Next Level Racing, Penguin RC, Racecraft, all the guys on the team that have been working so hard. And man, hopefully J-Bob wraps this up. Excited for him.
He has never looked better, has Trevor Teal, and he'll now be cheering on his young charge, Jacob Rafos, as he tries to make it 4 RX1 championships in a row. And that is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Here on RaceSpotTV, more Rallycross action coming up next. With one decidedly crazy championship finale in the books for Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing, it's time to go for RX1. Jacob Rafos trying to make it 4 championship wins in a row. All he's got to do is rack up a couple of points. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV, Arjuna Kenki Party alongside of Justin Prince as we, well, try and catch our breaths from the madness that we just watched. We now get to do it all over again. JP, the very same journey that the RX2 drivers have been going on, RX1 has done so as well. The only difference, open setups, more experienced drivers, and maybe a little bit more speed at the very front of the field.
Especially when it comes to the setup side, open this part of the setup game, mind you. It's going to be interesting how some of the RX2 competitors looking to jump in for the finale look to race here today and see, is their setup game on point? We know at one side, you have an old control machine who did accept the invite for the RX2 side going up to RX1. Chris Pizik is going to be a major test today for him. He's still in the midst of trying to get him well acquainted with the track for this finale after his crazy finale in second in RX2's title fight.
And we spent a lot of RX2 discussing how over the course of qualifying heat and feature races, the points get totted on up. The maximum that you can accrue over each of those points paying sessions, 29 points. And effectively, between qualifying and heat races, it's 1 position per point for the most part. Feature races a little bit more complex, but when we look at the championship standings, the math about as simple as you can really get. It's 27 points between Jacob Rafos and Evan McFarlane. All that Jacob's got to do, realistically here, JP, is qualify in 5th, get those 2 points. He then win on tiebreaker in terms of any other sort of championship equation. He just then have to finish his heat and maybe not even show up after that.
It's that simple, right? That's how quick Jacob Rafos has been long run. He has been the king of long run pace so far. Funnily, we should mention, though, in live qualifying, he's had 2 slowdowns in 2 laps. Not going easy.
I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you get slowed down, as long as you set a valid lap. Palineva and Fox, keep an eye on that battle. Josh Fox, the Williams Esports driver, 2 wins for him so far this season, has matched Jacob Rafos's 2 wins as well, but has missed around here and there, and so we haven't seen him every single week around. Yoni Palineva hoping to hold on to that 3rd place in the championship. Here's a look at the track. We've seen it plenty in terms of racing action, and we've seen already how the Joker can cause its chaos. Race Control has let the drivers know as well, JP, that they should make sure they are being careful if they're taking to the Joker, that no one is behind them, maybe leave a little bit more room if they are. It's one of those things, though, in the heat of the moment, when you're trying to get that shortcut, that extra time, you're not necessarily always thinking about it.
Yeah, especially since we've seen drivers just pull hard on the handbrake and say, I'm going to turn a hard right for the Joker. You have to be aware of what's going on, and that's why we're seeing so many drivers jetting out to the right and then making the hard brake to make sure they don't stop in the middle of the racing surface while trying to make the Joker portion of the racetrack. It's going to be a wild one here today for some based on the efforts, but there is one thing. Rafos did set a time, and he got 2nd in the session.
And so we take a look at the times on the board. Josh Fox, the Williams Esports driver, fastest of them all. And by 0.2 of a second, he has really found a rich vein of form, has been diving into the setups, is what he's been telling us after each of these victories. Rafos in 2nd. McFarlane, the only driver left on track to actually set another lap time in his KES Industries machine. And so Jacob Rafos has the championship wrapped up at this point. Question will be, final race of the season, other championship spots, who grabs the final win and makes sure they leave on top. McFarlane improves in terms of time, and it is basically identical to Yoni Palineva, but he stays in 4th position. Have you ever seen times that close on the dirt?
Well, what type of dirt are we talking here? On the World of Outlaws side, it's down to 1,000. When it comes to this side, it's a little bit more challenging for especially 2nd all the way through. I don't blame McFarlane to try and push as hard as can right now because, well, get it as much dialed in, get the experience down, figure out what you're going to have to experience when you're about to hit the heat races in less than 15 seconds.
And then just for clarity, McFarlane did actually set what would be recognized as a slower time than Palineva, but iRacing on our broadcast graphic only shows us down to the 3 significant digits behind the scenes. It goes a little bit deeper. We have seen identical times before. It's not very often it does happen. Ready to go racing though, remember 2 heats, much like we saw in RX2. Let's take a look at how they'll line up for heat number 1 in RX1. And Josh Fox and Yoni Palineva fighting for 3rd in the championship alongside of one another. Fox will already have leapfrogged his way on forward with those points in qualifying. Josh Edmondson will be on the outside of the front row with Yuka Pakala and then Robbie Kirtley behind on row 2. Thomas Poulsen, RX2 champion, makes the step up, and he'll work from 6th alongside of Rene Wegner with Istvan Titz and then Zach Blanche and Stead Miller at the back of the 10-car queue. 10 cars, 3 spots on the line. It's not quite the main event, JP, but it's about as many cars as you can pack onto the track. Not often we see heats this congested.
Yeah, this should be another wild one. That's the understatement once again. But Fox, you mentioned the pace differentials and pace working and tweaking. Should be a big boost from the starting blocks once again.
I've been told, there's the gold. They had the livery ready to go for Thomas Poulsen. He's made the quick switch on trading paints, and there it is. Great to see, celebrating already. But here we go. Lights will build, engines will rev, and already our RX1 champion for the 4th season in a row has been crowned. Jacob Rafos now just has to try and close out the win. A season with another win. Away we go. Josh Fox trying to make it 3 wins this season, and through the opening corner gets a great run. Behind they stack up. Thomas Poulsen's gold no-control car gets spun around, as does one of his teammates, Yoni Palineva. Stead Miller involved in some of that drama. Across the line though, Fox, Edmondson, and then Robbie Kirtley, 1, 2, and 3.
And what a stunning start yet again. That has been on point for what we've seen throughout the heat races so far here today, whether we're RX2 and now RX1. Of note, believe Stead Miller just towed the car because he was stuck against the fence. Fox looking prime and near perfect so far, along with the Edmondson and co.
He didn't need the invitation to run away. He, like I said, working on setups, not something that we often talk about since the iRacing Rallycross World Championship days, but it's great to see. It's Edmondson off into the Joker, I think just trying to give himself a bit of breathing room, some track position as the no-control duo of Robbie Kirtley and Jukka Pakala. It's third and fourth for them. Esteban Titz gained 3 spots on the start, as did Zach Blanche. As they slide up through turn number 1, it's effectively 4 cars for 1 transfer spot to the main event.
Yeah, Kirtley I'm keeping an eye on right now with that as a result, because in final practice he was around the mid-pack. He seems to have found a little bit more tempo for the race trim so far. Everybody else is going to be my major question in terms of whether his teammates are going to battle him aggressively, or better yet, if any of the others who involved in the incident early on lost time, like Tiet, who is up to 5th already, mind you, gets himself settled in. The Joker is taken now, but Pakala, expect that Joker response soon with him already seeing the teammate utilize it.
You can see the bright green machine of Robbie Kirtley differentiating himself from the rest of the no control crew. Got to give him his kudos for making sure to have something different. Otherwise, it would just be a sea of white, gray, and orange machines. Nothing wrong with that, but difficult for commentators to tell who is who. Now, he has really pulled away from Jukka Pakala. It's, 3 seconds or so as they launch themselves into the air one more time, cross the line, 2 to go. Seems as though top 3, comfortable as they run right now, still waiting for a handful to take to the Joker.
We've seen one driver do very well from the last lap dash, nearly making it last time. Zach Blanche amongst those yet to use it, obviously, here. His Fiesta amongst those who just squeezed out of the chaos on the opening lap and nearly missed the jump, in fact, from it. Seems to have settled into the 41-second bracket. He's quicker than the car in front, but needs to find a lot more to be able to keep up with the pace of the drivers for the transfer off the Joker.
And 2 different entries into the Joker there. It was quite interesting to see. You can see the merge in front. Jukka Pakala going to get swarmed on the run down into the opening corner. And on board with Zach Blanche, you'll just see the power that the outside can bring if you've got the confidence to make it stick. Great respectful stuff between the 2 drivers. Bit of damage on either side, of course, but this is the final lap of the race. Jukka Pakala still has the Joker in hand, but it's all basically a moot point, because up front and through the final corner, winning in heat number 1, it's Josh Fox on top once more, and Williams Esports own cannot be stopped. Victory with 3 seconds back to Josh Edmondson and then to Robbie Kirtley. Seems as though potentially a bit of drama for Joni Palaneva and Jukka Pakala, who dropped down the timing order in the closing stages momentarily. It's an interesting first heat. Most of the action outside of where it really needed to be.
Nicely done there from Robbie Kirtley. Seen that pace settle in, and it almost seems like it's quite simple on the logic for picking the Joker for the heat races. You blend out where there's no traffic, you're great. If you blend with traffic, you made a bad choice.
Confirmation of the results. No changes from iRacing. And one of No Control's machine joins the Nitro Circus sim racing car and Williams Esports own. We'll have to take a very quick look at the starting grid for heat number 2, because they're already almost locked and loaded. Rafos, McFarlane, Leiflander, Lindy, Pisuk, and then Bjorklund, Winkler, Peterson, and Hobbs. 9 machines getting ready to go. And once again, there are just 3 spots in the main event up for grabs. There is the field just waiting now for one. That would be Russell Peterson to take to his spot. You can see them slightly fanned on out, 3 by 2 by 3 by 2. That's how they'll line up when we make our way to the main event. But for now, it's Heat 2 on focus, and the lights building, drivers focusing towards the lights, and away we go. Not from the back, though. It's a great start from our champion. Jacob Rafos leads the field down through the opening corner. McFarlane behind, Leiflander then third, and then the KES Industries machine of Matthew Lindy trying to fend off the advances of Chris Pisuk. Wants to start at the front for Jacob Rafos, but what can McFarlane do now to put the pressure on?
I think some people try to test out the trick that Rafos and Co. were doing. 2 different jump starts for Hobbs and Bjorkelen. We'll see them with black flags to serve at the end of this race, essentially, for the timing sheet. That's essentially going to be hurting them the rest of the way from the transfer position opportunities.
Still a chance here for a battle for the transfer to not drop off from those top 2. You can see how much beating and banging there's been in the opening stages. Matthew Lindy not gonna joker. He does see Evan McFarlane go, so the teammate elects to try and do something. There goes McFarlane to the lead of the race. Remember, 1 to 2 seconds. The bigger the delta, so the more time that you gain, usually means the more efficient and effective that you've been. Look how wide Jacob Rafos sends his car through the opening corner.
Extremely efficient through that joker. I think McFarlane got there with how much of a run he got. Now, the thing is, though, Rafos, how is he going to handle once we get to some of these sections here? That's the huge question. You have Kieran with a different look race car today, and it looks like a slowdown. Yes, that was Matthew Lindy having to stop for the slowdown penalty.
And that's frustrating for him. Would have thought he had a good chance to show what he could have done, but now drops backward in the order. Chris Pissuk has moved on forward into a transfer spot, albeit with his joker now complete. He's got Leiflander behind him and now up the inside. What a move that is. Confidence on the part of that 20. Wonder if there's also a slowdown for Chris, given how slow that speed and momentum truly has been rolled through the corner. 1, 2, and 3, though, I think quite comfortable right now and seemingly heading their way to the main event. Question will be, in what order Jacob Rafos takes to the joker this time by.
Rafos looks to have a solid amount of speed. He's going to take the lead back just like that. Nice cut, nice pace. This was the thing I was seeing with the speed up the hillside. He was able to maintain, if not gain, and that was the proof right there. Rafos is going to be strong once again for the feature, and I pretty much think that's the most obvious statement of the week.
It will be on the front row. Rafos in the middle with Josh Fox on the inside and then Josh Edmondson on the outside. And Evan McFarlane, by finishing second here, would actually end up being on the inside row 2, which might not be a terrible place to start. Very much in danger, though, of the inside of row 3. Forcing the issue. His KES Industries teammate, by the way, Matthew Lindy, has yet another issue, and now at the very back of the field. The RX2 champion from 2023 Season 2, unfortunately having a bit of a spill here as we tick on over to the final lap of the race. Jacob Rafos, just a couple of corners to go.
And this final lap, my goodness, he let this car really stretch out. You go from 1 second to 4 seconds, that's an understatement of saying, oh, by the way, we're saving it for the final lap. Now I can push.
What an interesting heat as well. Evan McFarlane dropping back a bit more. Might have got a slowdown here or there. But front of the field for Jacob Rafos, and 4-time champion, and another heat win added to his name. And across the line in style. He's heading to the main event. Behind him, bit of a margin to McFarlane and Leiflander. Where will the rest of the drivers end up finishing? Aerial shot there for Lindsay Hall for Kim-Andre Bjorklund, but a little bit too far behind. And now we get ready for another 2 LCQs to hit our screens.
And again, survival of the fittest coming up for the LCQs today. 3 advance. This was another exciting heat, but now pressure is back on to survive.
Not many cars in the LCQs. Confirmation of the top 3 moving on forward. Let's go take a look at the starting grid, though, because there's some drivers that want to try and shine. Jukka Pakila, Istvan Tits, and then Zach Blanche front row for them. Joni Palineva, and then Rennie Wegner, and Thomas Paulson at the back and getting ready to go. Lights are already building. Engines are already revving. Let's see how they get out of the bowling alley for the first of the 2 LCQs. Whole shot for Jukka Pakila. What a monster of a launch for him. Thomas Paulson's going to hang back and try and set this up, but it's tidy as you'd like. Out and onto the run into the final corner. They'll stretch their legs to the line. Pakila from Blanche, from Tits, 1, 2, and 3, and across the jump to the line.
Very clean. That's our cleanest start on an LCQ today so far. But Thomas Paulson, I'm keeping an eye on. Remember from the last race, his teammates are nearly spinning around in front of him.
Remember that Joni Palaneva kind of wanted just to make sure that he finished in a decent spot to fight for third in points. Now that's a slowdown for a handful. Thomas Poulsen dropping to the back, front of the field. Look at the pressure that Zach Blanche puts onto Jukka Pakala. Back onto the tarmac they go, working their way through with an STI leading, and then the Ford Fiesta of Blanche. His Excalibur Esports car jinks off to the right, jokers, and inherits the race lead. First official lap complete.
And pretty certain that's quite simple on the decision. Last time I was around cars, I lost time. I didn't make it. This time I'm getting away from cars, gain time, run away. But talking about one of those charging ahead, Renee Wegener was amongst those who started towards the back of the grouping, already not afraid to rub fenders here to be able to make passes to try to advance.
They are struggling because Zach Blanche with an issue. He's had a slowdown and stops to a crawl directly in front of Renee Wegener. I'm not sure if Wegener also had a slowdown. Blanche finally back up to racing speed, but here comes the chaos that we haven't seen so far in RX1. We saw much of it in RX2. It's finally found its way on over to the big show.
Both of them did have slowdowns. That's why that was a bit awkward there and how that was dramatic close up by Palaneva. Pakala seems to be very, very comfortable as a result now with the teammate behind him. Because of those slowdowns, that's going to very much put Wegener at risk here, to say the very least, unless he finds another gear, because Wegener didn't do it as drastic. If anything, Blanche, because of his better run through his initial joker, never mind, Blanche just crashed.
That ends in tears, unfortunately, and I think now, are we settled with the top three? 1, 2, 3. There comes the merge back from the number 22. So I think we are indeed at this point, probably 2 laps to go. Pretty comfortable. What do we always say in these LCQs? Stay out of trouble and survive. You'll probably make your way on forward.
Again, the constant theme the past 3-4 rounds has been, don't be your worst enemy. Guess what? Everybody's looking in the mirror saying to themselves, I don't like you. And we're seeing mistakes from it, which is kind of wild to think about.
Jukka Pakala is going to jump his way across the line and start what will be the final lap of this race. That second LCQ going to be quite exciting, I think, in some ways, based on this. The bowling alley might have some stories still left to tell. Nice and tidy. Last thing you want to do, get a slowdown on the final lap of the race. Can you imagine?
Don't do it. Quite simple. Don't put yourself in that box. I think Pakala is very much trying to just say, you know what, even if it's a little bit slower, keep it on the tarmac, keep it in the middle of the dirt, don't risk going outside and outside wide. It's hurt a lot of people already today.
I thought you were going to say don't commentate us cursing, which I would have said fair comment. Jukka Pakala, though, will advance along with Joni Palaneva, no control 1 and 2, and in front of the Subaru of Istvan Tits. Unfortunately, drag race to the line between Zach Blanche and Renee Wegener, not going to really mean much, and RX2 champion Thomas Poulsen, his RX1 debut comes to an end in the first of the LCQs, and we get ready to go, of course, for the second one. Let's take a look at the results, get ready to go with the grid for LCQ number 2, because I'm sure it will get underway sooner rather than later. Remember, top 3 move on forward, and the rest to say goodbye, done for the season. Sean Winkler, Chris Pissock, and Russell Peterson will be on the front row of LCQ2, with Matthew Lindy and Kim-Andre Bjorklund behind on row 2. It'll be Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller sharing the final row and lining up alongside one another, trying to fight their way on forward. Once again, 7 will enter, 3 move on forward, and now just waiting for Russell Peterson to be ready to be launched off into the opening corner. Bowling Alley hasn't disappointed. We also have seen less chaos from RX1 than we did from RX2 as a whole.
So far, a lot more cleaner starts than RX1. No one's thrown a strike yet.
Oh, you just had to say it. Strikes would be better than spares, though, I guess, because then at least everyone was involved and no one left strangled. Down to the opening corner they will funnel, and very, very tentative in some cases. Chris Pissock backs out of it and allows them all to rumble on through. Sean Winkler holds the lead. Russell Peterson, Matthew Lindy now trying to slide his way alongside, but look at him get sideways off the jump. Pissock's on the other side of the jump and into the wall. Drag race up in towards turn number 1, and a couple of different cars all fighting and squabbling for position.
Oh, look at that run inside line. That was almost a grip strip and a half almost from Lindy. And yeah, that's a slowdown penalty, obviously, for him, Bjorklund, and Hobbs. 2 of those 3 names, by the way, were jump starters from their heat.
And I think I saw not 1 but 2 cars almost then get all sorts of high side on anti-cut curbs. Watch Lindy go deep. He'll try and bleed off that time without holding anyone up. So does Chris Pissock. Off to the Joker. We watch Russell Peterson makes his way through the shortcut and emerges behind Sean Winkler, who also elected to do so. I think a good call gets themselves out of any sort of trouble with drivers behind, and we can take a look on board, riding from the perspective over the shoulder of Russell Peterson. Look at the hands at work.
Yeah, it's near 1-to-1. Obviously, there's a slight difference between what you've seen on the sim and to the headset on top of his rig, it looks like.
Oh, mistake! Oh. Sean Winkler, he's cooked it up through the final couple of corners, and now we'll try and spin it around without losing too much time. Bit of contact with Stead Miller, battle into the final couple of corners.
Yeah, just too much rotation getting back on the pavement. It's exactly what I mentioned there, where you're jumping off from dirt onto the pavement. A lot of cars are having a tough time on the transition, drifting like it's dirt, but then when you lose that dirt, it gets a lot more different of a slide effect compared to what we're seeing on the dirt.
Matthew Lindy is back up into a transfer spot. Stead Miller, uncomfortable as they ride almost off the track at the rise to the top of the hill, and now very wide for him. He's going to have to be careful because Sean Winkler will try and sell a move up the inside. Doesn't stick. Chris Pissock at the back of the field drops back as well. This is great stuff. Stead Miller says, get me out of this. Get me to the Joker. And off and away he goes. But a very good run through the final corner for Sean Winkler and for Matthew Lindy. The drag race for Stead Miller is going to be into turn 1 with Kim-Andre Bjorklund.
And what a difference of a race. He didn't make it past the lap at his heat. Now he's able to battle for the transfer. Needs to keep the cushion up. That's quite simple. Bjorklund's all over the map right now. Just got to keep it away from the fender because Bjorklund's making a lot of mistakes and nearly cutting the corners again.
They've allowed the race leader to break away. Russell Peterson may not be in VR, but he's got that monitor view that gives him enough. Sean Winkler down in 5th has got it all to do to fight his way back to the front. 1 more lap here left to go. Big air as well for Kim-Andre Bjorklund, pushing all the way to the line, hoping to hold on to 1 of 2 transfer spots.
Yeah, and that's going to emphasize a little bit more urgency for Miller. Here comes Lindy.
Big slide from the KES Industries car. Did get the elbows out. Stead Miller shoved wide. And while contact is, allowed and not frowned upon in rallycross racing, I wonder if getting the elbows out for a transfer spot maybe going to incur a look from race control. That will all be post-race though, and celebration's going to ensue after this one. Russell Peterson's going to head out of the final corner, winning LCQ2 and advancing to the main event alongside of Kim-Andre Bjorklund and Matthew Lindy.
Russell Peterson had probably the easiest of the runs so far today, just kept it away from trouble. Well done on the recovery, though, for Lindy to be able to get 1 of those transfer spots to be the last to make the feature race today.
Unfortunately for Chris Pissock as well, he makes a step up to RX1, and similarly for Thomas Paulson, doesn't necessarily get the result that maybe he would have wanted. Just keep an eye on him moving forward, though, into the next season of Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing. That's the confirmed race result, so Lindy, Bjorklund and Peterson to advance on forward, and unfortunately the rest done for 2024. We got 1 more race to go, 10 laps left. Don't go anywhere on RaceSpotTV. The main event is next. For one final time, let's unleash the Rallycross beast. Here in wine country, with the championship already wrapped up, it's all now just bragging rights up for grab in the final round of the Racecraft Rallycross powered by Net Sever Racing RX1 campaign. Our Junior Kangi party alongside with Justin Prince to close the season off, and JP drivers ready to take to the grid. It's ready for us to see one final show. RX2's main event was wild. This should be even better.
Yeah, this should be a wild one yet again, but also stakes are fairly high for some to close out championship positionings. This should be an exciting grid.
Josh Fox, Jacob Rafos, and Josh Edmondson on the front row. They'll all battle into turn one with Evan McFarlane and Robbie Kirtley behind them, putting the pressure on. Kieran Leiflander, the final driver to advance from the heat, is alongside of Jukka Pakala and Russell Peterson with Joni Palineva, Kim-Andre Bjorklund, and then Esteban Titz and Matthew Lindy at the back of the 12-car grid. We've seen some interesting starts. RX1 as a whole has probably been a little bit cleaner down into the bowling alley. Can they be clean for one final time? With no championship to be decided, I think in many ways, JP, it's every man for themselves on the run down into turn number one.
Especially with it being the final time this season, this should be a wild run to bowling alley.
Just waiting now for Kieran Leiflander to get to the grid. And here we go, engines rev, and we're away for the final time this season. Racecraft Rallycross sees Fox and Rafos battle through the final corner. It's going to be Edmondson duking it out with McFarlane. Already one car behind, that's Kim-Andre Bjorklund, but 2 by 2 in the air we fly. Contact behind, Robbie Kirtley goes around, Russell Peterson's involved as well, and one car's on its lid. Josh Fox, the Pennsylvania native, the route long way around, but a little bit too long. I'm about to lose my voice. Jacob Rafos has the lead.
I think everybody's going to lose some voices pretty soon, and when it comes to this, another one hard. That's Josh Edmondson in the fence.
Oh my heavens, the Nitro Circus sim racing driver. We watch Russell Peterson, who sat there at the bowling alley and watching for the rest of this race. Who jokers first time by? Oh, Fox gets clipped by McFarlane. You couldn't write this stuff. Madness here at Sonoma.
I mean, we talked about how, it's calm. It's calmed down. I think it just got very, very wild again. Fox is still yet to go.
This is insanity. I mean, his race is already over. The quest for a third win this season, it's done. Now, Evan McFarlane, a little bit of contact was made. He's the one now with the pressure to try and close up to the front.
I mean, everything's nearly falling towards more so Rafos's lap, but at McFarlane at least to be able to get a podium run to finish up the season. You can see just how much he's trying to keep toe-to-toe. He's matching the lines well, but Rafos just has the extra speed that we've seen all season. Whether it's straight line, whether it's corner rotation, he's been that strong all year.
Looks like a joker for Kieran Leiflander, and yes, indeed, left side going to illuminate in gold next to his name. Let's go back and take a look at the initial race start. What happened to Kim-Andre Bjorklund down into the opening corner? You can almost see him tip the car over by himself, and then Matthew Lindy nowhere to go, gives him a shot into the side. No fault there of anyone else. Then the focus went over to, was it Robbie Kirtley, who was not the car that was spun and then pointed on their lid. That would have been Russell Peterson. Contact in midair, and he gets all sorts of wrong on the landing.
Yeah, not much you can do at that point. You're both going for the jump, different angles, converging angles, and it's almost like a cue ball with a pool table. You just get bounced the wrong direction. Now Edmondson, meanwhile, he finds Kieran, and Kieran says, I want the room. Into the tire barrier he goes.
And a little bit of contact, big consequences. I want to look one more time at that replay. Evan McFarlane's had an issue, by the way, in the live pictures. Not quite sure what's happened to him, but he's dropped down the running order. I am very, very curious as to whether Fox pulled out of line enough to really, have felt confident in braking so aggressively. That's going to be one part of the story. Don't forget, Jacob Rafos leads and is running away from those behind.
Can't confirm. McFarlane, I think, just parked at Tier 2, Arjuna, because he just cut randomly hard right with the tech issue. And there's the reason for the contact. Fox, yeah, that's similar to what we talked about previously. Breaking in the racing line to make the joker, forgetting people are behind you. Now, why McFarlane's off track? Something steering had to have broke, and boom, up to the hillside, forced to tow.
I'm going to speculate here. Now, we have seen Evan McFarlane on the webcam in the past has actually been driving on an office chair. That seems like someone who's no longer in full control of their pedal and wheelbase input and is suddenly sliding around their office a little bit more than was expected. Now, that is pure speculation, but it looks a little bit plausible. We'll maybe get word down in the chat from what went on. YouTube chat, talk in and amongst yourselves. Cam Peterson and Trevor Teal are chatting, amongst one another. Really not much going on out on track, JP, already with half this race complete, and J-Bob 6 seconds clear up front.
Was that sarcasm on the not much going on part? Because it's been absolutely wild here. By the way, confirmation, McFarlane just died, shifters died. On the bright side, at least you're not the one at RX2 who had Bluetooth paddle shifters, which for the second time in a broadcast in 3 weeks, I can tell you, they don't last that long.
That sounds like a risky ploy to use a Bluetooth shifter. And I assume when you say Bluetooth, that's not like a wireless wheelbase system from like a manufacturer. That's like one that you just plug in a Bluetooth connector into a PC kind of deal. That's interesting. 12 drivers took to the start. McFarlane, Peterson, and Lindy not going to see the end. 3 laps left to go. We've got a 7-second margin up front. Yoni Palaneva might be doing enough to grab third in the championship away from Josh Fox. We check back in the queue where Josh Edmondson is trying to claw his way back up into the top 5.
Great recovery speed, and I think it showcases some of the speed of the car right now in general when it comes to that camp. It's just been wild how much Rafos has been in an error world. I almost wonder if it's time to look at the notes from Rafos's camp and say, hey, can I borrow those notes in the Nitro Circus camp?
I think we have to make jokes about BOP and how we can make things a bit more equal in certain series. Jacob Rafos would be a worthy candidate for BOP. Ahead of the next season of Racecraft Rallycross, we are going to have to find a way just to make it that little bit more interesting. Edmondson had an interesting ride through the opening couple of laps. Now, Rafos has jokered, so everybody has jokered as well. So the left side of the screen, you won't see the joker laps anymore. Instead, look at the movement. Fox down 6 positions. Edmondson down 3, currently down 3. Yoni Palaneva has gained 7. Staying out of trouble in Rallycross, sometimes just as important as being fast.
Yeah, exactly, but it's the final lap of the season already. Edmondson, at the very least, can get to it pretty quickly here as long as he gets the right angle down. He's got the tempo. It looks like he's going to make the pass for the final lap.
It's up towards turn number 1. Well, he's forcing himself to the outside momentarily. Fox closing behind as well. If these two fight, it could bring him into the mix as well. It's been a fascinating season overall, but Jacob Rafos had the championship wrapped up before we came to wine country. He's a bit too young to spray the sparkling wine, but he'll celebrate anyway. Here in Napa Valley, a 4-time Racecraft Rallycross RX1 champion and winning in style once again. 13 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Jacob just doesn't know how to stop.
Yeah, another dominating win. An exclamation point for the championship.
A little bit of side-by-side momentarily further back. No real drag race between Edmondson, Fox, and the number 22 machine that is disappointingly not a Ford, and instead converts back to the regular form book and is instead a Subaru STI. The drivers are finishing up their celebrations. We're going to finish up things up here in the broadcast booth, have a chat with some of the drivers, and then close out the season. And what a season it has been indeed. Rafos with yet another win to close out, and the history books continue to show he is the dominant force in the championship. It's Rafos's 3rd win in 6 races. He's been consistent, but has been challenged a little bit more over the course of 2024. Yoni Palaneva, almost 13 seconds behind, finishes just in front of Kieran Leiflander with Jukka Pakala and then Istvan Tits, your top 5. Josh Edmondson scrambles back to finish 6th in front of Josh Fox, with Robbie Kirtley down in 8th after getting back onto track after a slip-up in the opening corners. Kim-Andre Bjorklund and then Evan McFarlane, 9th and 10th position. We get to our first DNF, and McFarlane's technical issues don't see him get to finish off the season. Russell Peterson was on his lid, unfortunately, over the jump, and Matthew Lindy, a big old smash through the opening corner, sees him go no further other than that first lap of racing. That was a look top to bottom at the results, and we're still waiting for the drivers to come and join us for a chat. Have the sense that for Jacob Rafos, he knows where to come, but he's in no rush. He's gotten quite used to chatting to us here on RaceSpotTV. So while we wait for him, let's go and catch up with third place finisher here today, Kieran Leiflander, standing by with Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. Kieran joins us now at the broadcast booth. And first things first, a top 3 run to close things out in the now red machine. How was it feeling in the race on the racetrack here today at Sonoma?
Yeah, it was very I can't even describe it. It was bit loose early on, and then once the track started gripping up, it was the car and the track started meeting together and started to like each other. So it was a really fun race, and I saw like 2 or 3 cars go off in the beginning. I saw Evan go off on the front straightaway. I don't know how he went off, and then Edmondson on the first lap going across my nose, which I assume was on accident. And yeah, made a couple adjustments to be able to match the speed of Rafos and Yoni and Fox long run, and we were able to do that. So really consistent season for us at Zeems. I was able to achieve, I think, 4 fourth place finishes, like 4 races in a row, and then today we got third. So finally grabbed podium this season, and really happy we were able to do that.
So overall, the season as a whole, how would you describe the battles? How would you describe the amount of work put in for RX1 this year?
Yeah, it definitely did better than last season in terms of speed. Obviously, we would have wanted either a win or more podium finishes, but yeah, I think I have most of these tracks figured out, so we'll come back next season swinging better than ever, and hopefully get a win or 2. And hopefully that alien of Rafos up there in first doesn't get too far out in the points, and hopefully we can contend next season.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Kieran.
Thank you.
Nice chat with Kieran Leiflander. Let's see if we can catch up with Yoni Palaneva now. Yoni, second place for you today. I know you were kind of thinking, heading into the final round of the championship, the main thing that you were hoping to do, stay out of trouble and try and challenge Josh Fox for third in the season points. Now, of course, Race Control has yet to review everything from the race, but provisionally you finish in front. How happy are you with not just second, but third in the championship?
Very happy and shocked. I wasn't thinking that after heat start.
Yeah, talk to us about, the heat race starts here. We call it the bowling alley because it's always full of chaos. You got involved in some of it. How difficult is it to try and stay out of trouble on these initial race starts?
Very.
Short and sweet answer.
It's very difficult, and the iRacing have sometimes net code like Edmundson got, so we collide.
Nothing you can really do in that situation. Congratulations on a great season, Yoni, averaging up inside of the top 5 most of the time, and can't wait to see how you and No Control run in our next season of Racecraft Rallycross.
Yes, thank you, and thanks Racecraft and No Control.
Thanks to Yoni Palaneva for jumping in to chat with us. But now, let's not keep him waiting any longer. 4-time Racecraft RX1 champion Jacob Rafos is chatting with us now. Jacob, it's been a fun, dominant run for you in this championship. But this season, I think you got pushed a little bit more. Josh definitely, with his 2 wins, could have challenged for a 3rd one here today. How are you feeling about the season as a whole as this campaign comes to a close?
Yeah, I know it's been a really good, season. I know. Most wins of the season too, with taking the championship, and it couldn't go better. I mean, some more race wins maybe, but I mean, we're really happy to take the championship and the most race wins of the season.
What's next on deck for Jacob? Of course, we've still got some rounds of the iRacing Short Course Championship left to come. We'll have those on RaceSpotTV. We'll see you there. But where else are we going to see you and your Nitro Circus Sim Racing colors for the rest of 2024?
I don't know. I was just at Stockholm and in Sweden taking the Nordic Championship in RX, and that was pretty much fun. But yeah, I know you'll probably see me in the Short Course and Norwegian Championship in Rallycross and maybe some GT3 League stuff on RaceSpot, maybe.
Oh, GT3, Jacob Rafos, I like the sound of that. Jacob, congratulations on a 4th championship, 3 wins this season as well, and can't wait to see you next season trying to defend this championship.
Thank you, and let's give a shout out to SimMagic, Next Level Racing, and Nitro Circus Sim Racing team, all the guys there for helping me, and yeah, Next Level Racing.
Jacob Rafos, 4-time champion in Racecraft RX1. And with that, JP, our coverage is about to come to a close, and what a season it has been, really. I am so glad that we got rid of Daytona, I'll be completely honest, and we mixed things up. Not Kill, disappointed I wasn't there, but that was a lot of fun, and the rest of the season has just been remarkable. Some great racing across both RX2 and RX1, and now we get a bit of a breakaway, and there's more to come this coming summer, not in terms of rallycross racing from Racecraft on RaceSpotTV, but we'll see those Pro 2 trucks back in action in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, that should be, again, a great championship when it comes to Pro Trucks. A lot of competitive drivers expected for that one, but throughout this season, it's been about trying to keep consistent. It's been about trying to avoid contact. It's been about trying to master the craft when it comes to these tracks. And our champions mastered the craft, the best out of those, or in the case of Rafos, refined the craft and made sure everyone tried to keep up with the spaceship. Who and what happens from here, we'll see over the summer.
It's going to be interesting, and we are not far away from that Pro 2 Truck Championship kicking off. More information to come on the Racecraft channels. I am done teasing, at least for now. Won't be long before we're back here on RaceSpotTV for more of this great dirt-slinging action. But got to thank you for joining us along the way, and for everyone that's made it possible. The team behind the scenes at Racecraft, the hardworking admins that make it all possible. Our team at RaceSpot, of course. Dame Bear jumping in for production duties. Paul Smith, Justin Prince, and myself, Arjuna Kankipati, working you through the races by almost losing our voices. Can't wait to do it once again. Congratulations to Thomas Paulson and to Jacob Rafos. Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing champions, and leaving wine country on a high. Until next time, see you next.